sometimes you just need to be irresponsible today so that you can live your dreams tomorrow. We as adults like to think that we are always responsible and making responsible decisions, but realistically, we make pretty irresponsible decisions all the time. Whether it has to do with our health, whether it has to do with the things we're drinking, the things we're eating, the people we hang out with, or the people we fall in love with. We've made some pretty irresponsible decisions before, and we've lived to see another day, and we've gotten on with our lives, right? So if you are someone who is feeling like you really want to take a trip, but you feel like you should be more responsible with your money, this video is for you. I want you to keep watching because I'm going to talk to you about why you need to stop judging yourself, why you need to spend the money you don't have, and just book the trip. Okay, just book the trip. I'm also going to share 8 strategies that you can use. So if you're going to spend the money, you can spend as little of the money as possible. And I'm going to get to that to the end, so make sure you stick around to the end. All right, so I'm sure if you are who I think you are, you can relate to wanting to plan a trip and a whole bunch of things coming up, right? A whole bunch of problems, a whole bunch of obstacles showing up in your life. So I'll tell you what's going on with me right now. So I am currently unemployed. I currently need $50,000 for a rehab project that I'm doing for my first investment property. And these are just 2 of the significant financial strains that are happening right now in my life. In addition to that, like, it's the year of 40 for me and all of my friends. And one of my absolute closest friends, my longest friend of 30 plus years, will be celebrating her 40th birthday in Bali in a few months. And I have decided that even in the midst of all of this foolishness, even in the midst of all this chaos, your girl is going to Bali, okay? I will be there, okay? The reason why I have decided that I'm going to Bali is for a few things. 1, we are 40. We have been friends since we were 8. We are 40. We are not promised to get to 50. If there's anything that I have learned over the last decade is that neither of us are promised to get to the next decade. In this decade alone, we have experienced cancer and a pandemic within our friendship. We are not promised to get to 50, right? And I would hate for either one of us to be at 50 years old and to think back and regret that we didn't celebrate this milestone together, right? The other thing is, like, if we do make it to 50 and we do make it to 60 and we do make it to 70 and we are currently sitting in rocking chairs when we're 80 years old and we're looking back over our life and reflecting and just talking about all the fun times we had, I would hate for us not to be able to talk about this experience because at the time it felt irresponsible to spend like $2,000 to spend a week in Bali, right? I mean, think about it. And then at that point, we both will have made $2,000 over and over and over again. And we would have missed this moment for one of those $2,000. There's no way. There's no way. Then I thought about the fact that every single trip that I have taken of the 22 countries I have been to has in some way uncovered more of me, uncovered more of my purpose, and changed my life, right? That's why this channel is about transformation through travel, because I have transformed my life through my travels, right? And so when I think about, like, I got my first business idea when I went to Japan in 2009, right? How, you know, my inner greatness was uncovered when I went to Ghana for the very first time. I realized, like, I literally am my ancestors' wildest dreams, right? I found my husband, my life partner, when I went to South Africa, right? And my marriage transformed when we went to visit his homeland of Zimbabwe. Every time I go on a trip, there's something new that's uncovered. So this is why I have decided that even in the midst of all these things, I'm still going to be in Bali, okay? right now, I will be gone. And this is why. Because I don't look at it as an expense. I look at it as an investment. And I'm going to talk more about why you also should look at travel as an investment and not just an expense, especially on the trips that are really meaningful, purposeful, and are to celebrate milestones in your life. I watch a lot of Myron Golden, so if you haven't seen him, definitely go check out his YouTube channel. And he has a video where he talks about, how we as people have been trained to think time is money, right? Time is money is a saying, time is money. But if you think about it, like, time is not money. Time is significantly more valuable than any money you will ever get, right? You can always make more money. You will never be able to make more time or have more time. So you need to take advantage of the time you have right now. I am taking advantage of the time we have right now, right? Money is infinite. Time is finite. If you had the choice right now to be able to pay any amount of money to get more time with a loved one that is no longer here on this earth, you would find the money to pay for the time. You would find the money to pay for the experience that you want to have with that person again, right? So time is not money. Time is way more valuable than money. And I just want to talk about some objections that you may have in your mind, because I know how your mind is thinking right now, because my mind has been there before. And the reason why I'm doing this video is because I've been able to get through that process, because I still have those same thoughts about things like this being irresponsible, but I'm able to get to the other side faster. So the first thing is, let's talk about the thought, so if I spend this money, how am I going to pay it back? Right? If I spend money I don't have, how am I going to get it back? And what I want to say is, if you think back over the course of your adult life, right, more than the majority of it, you have had income coming in. Some form of income, right? Whether it was an actual job, whether it was like me, unemployment, whether it was grants, whether it was loans, you've always had some sort of income coming into you. There's been a flow of money that just comes to you. Even in hard times, like some things will show up and you're like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to pay for X. And then somehow just the money shows up, right? And even if you haven't always had the amount of money that you wanted, you've always had the money that you needed. And realistically, if you can look back over your life, you've had more than you needed. You've had what you needed, the necessities, and you've had extra to do extra stuff, whether it's stuff for your kids, stuff for your man, stuff for yourself. Like, you've had extra the majority of your adult life, right? And that flow is not going to stop. It's not going to stop because you pay for this trip. So even the thought of, well, where am I going to get the money from to pay it back? You don't even need to know that now. You just need to know that it's coming. You just need to know and trust that it's coming, period, because it always has, right? The other thing I want to touch on is the idea of responsibility, right? And I'm gonna put something in your spirit, let it simmer. You actually don't believe that it's irresponsible to spend money you don't have. You believe it's irresponsible to spend money you don't have on travel because you don't believe you're going to get a return on your investment. Let that marinate. Right? Think back on how much money you didn't have that you spent on college. I mean, honey, money, just all the money we did not have, right? Tuition, books, room and board, parties, conferences, clothes, shoes, money we did not have was spent. Coins were spent on college, right? And we got loans, we got grants, we got money from family, we got money from friends in order to pay for college because we thought it was an investment and it was going to yield a return in our life. We thought it was going to get us to our dreams. And some of you, it did. And some of you, it did not. If you're someone like me, you probably not even working in the same field you went to college for. Ain't worked in that field for years. But when you look back over the money that you spent that you did not have in college, you don't reflect on it with regret or irresponsibility. What you think of it is, I wouldn't take it back. Now, you may be like, I wouldn't have spent that much money. Or you might be like, I wouldn't have got that degree, right? I maybe would have did it differently. But you don't look at that money as an irresponsible spend, right? Why is that? It's because of the experiences. When you look back and think about college, you're not thinking about the money you spent. You're thinking about the experiences you had. You're thinking about the people you met, the friendships you made, the things you did and saw, the professors that changed your life, the thoughts and ideas that you learned that changed your life, right? And that is what you are paying for when you spend money you don't have and money you do have on travel. The experiences. You're paying for the people that you're going to meet. You're paying for the places you're going to see. You're paying for the things the events, the experiences that could change your life, the fabric of who you are, your identity. That's what you're paying for, right? And that's the return. That's the return that you're getting. And the same reason that you chose a specific college to go to, because somewhere deep inside you, that place was calling you. When I think about, I went to Morgan State University, shout out to the Bears. When I think about, I went to multiple Black colleges for 2 years in a row when I was in high school, junior year and senior year. When I went to Morgan my senior year, I knew that's where I was going to college. Why? Because it felt like I was supposed to be there internally. It wasn't the program. I studied computer science. They did not have a great computer science program. It wasn't the location. It is in Baltimore City. Okay. I was raised in the South. It was miles away from my hometown, right? It was a feeling that I'm supposed to be here. There's something calling me to be here. And I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't change the money I spent. I wouldn't change it for the world because of the experiences I had, right? And the same way that the place you chose to go to college called you is the same way the destination you are going to is calling you. Where you want to go in the world is tied to who you are meant to be, the person you are meant to be. And regardless if you're spending money you do have or if you're spending money you don't have, you're meant to go. It is not irresponsible to invest in yourself and invest in the experiences that will change your life and yield a return in your life. Now, let's be clear. I'm not saying do this all the time, right? I'm not saying always spend the money you don't have on the trip you want to go on, okay? And I have plenty of videos where I talk about how you can earn, get rewarded the money to travel, how you can automate your adventure allowance, how you can increase your travel points, how you can, just accumulate the things that you need in order to have the money ahead of time for when these times come, right? The majority of the time or a significant amount of the time. But sometimes you may not just have the money. And it doesn't make it irresponsible for you to still take the trip. And later in this video, I'm still going to talk about, some ways you can spend as little as possible. But my point is, you are a responsible person, period. You wouldn't even be watching this video if you weren't a responsible person. You wouldn't be hesitating to spend the money if you weren't a responsible person. And you spending money on this trip is not going to change the fact that you are indeed a responsible person. So don't let the fear of feeling irresponsible stop you. Don't let the thought of thinking you're irresponsible stop you. Acknowledge the fact that you are responsible and that you have plenty of examples in your life that point to you being a person who's responsible with their money. Because there's another fear that's on the other side of the thought you're telling yourself about you being irresponsible. And that is the fear of regret. And baby, the heaviest burden to carry in life is the feeling of regret. If you're going to regret not being on this trip, if it's going to bother you for years, if it's that type of trip, it's going to bother you. Hey, maybe it's already been bothering you. You've been telling yourself, I'm going to go. You've had opportunities to go. You still haven't gone. And it's bothering you right now. Book the trip. Because that feeling is not going to go away. A friend of mine, I watched her video and she said, just because I wasn't climbing Mount Everest didn't mean that the feeling that I was supposed to be climbing Mount Everest went away. Still felt it every day. Right? That's the fear. That's the pain of regret. All right. So I want to jump into some solutions, right? We're going to solve the problem, right? So we are going to pay for this trip. We're going on the trip. And these are actually some things that I am doing in order to try to make, in order to make this trip happen. The first thing is, first of all, you're going to have to think, there needs to be a thought that there is a way to do this, right? There is a way to do this, right? And the way to do this is to keep trying the ways to do this, right? So the first way that you can spend the money you don't have, right, and spend as little of it as possible is to find a 0% credit card and 0% interest credit card that you could pay for something on it. You don't have to pay interest on it for like 6, 9, 12 months, right? Use that card to pay for it. So at least you're not paying interest on the money that you spent on your trip, right? The second way is to open a new travel credit card. So there's a lot of travel credit cards that have big bonuses after you open them of miles, right? So this is to help you to remove potentially hotel or flying expenses. So you open this card and you use this card on your daily expenses, the things that you're going to buy anyway, in order to rack up the amount that you need to spend on it, because usually it's maybe like $4,000 or whatever. So you rack up that amount, you take the money you have for your expenses, you pay the card, and you still get the points, right? And you can use those. The bonuses come when you're new to a card. So you can use that in order to reduce the amount you're having to pay for flight and hotel. The other thing is just put it on a card you already have that is a travel card that's going to give you points. So at least you're getting the points, even if you're spending, the money that you don't have, right? You're going to pay some interest. You got the points. Okay, right? The other thing is you can use some of your savings and then plan to pay it back. Like, figure out a way that you can pay it back. Figure out a way that you can get the money back, right? Also, one of the things you can do is leverage a travel agent. So sometimes travel agents have significant discounts that you're not going to be able to find online. That's something that I think we're going to leverage on this trip specifically. And it allows you to spend less of the money you don't have. Next up is changing the dates of your trip, right? So let's say the dates can be flexible. Even if it's a birthday trip, you will still feel celebrated even if you don't go on your exact birthday, right? Even if you don't go on your exact wedding anniversary day, you can still go. And if it's cheaper to go another date, go on another date and save the money, right? The other thing is go less days. So maybe you wanted to go 12 days, go 6, right? Don't spend as much, but still go. And stay at a cheaper accommodation, right? So maybe you want to stay at a certain hotel, go find an Airbnb instead. Like, just find ways to reduce the cost of the trip, but still book the trip. The last thing is find somebody who has like a travel membership. Like my mom and dad have this travel membership that I'm going to look into, and they may be paying for it monthly, right? So that they can go to, wherever they want in the world, and see if you can borrow it, right? Pay them a little bit for it. See if you can borrow it to go on your trip and be able to use the hotel at a discounted or no cost at all, right? So these are some of the options you can use in order to be able to spend as little as possible, even if you're going to spend money you don't have, okay? One of the things that I tell my clients is the very first thing I have them do in the framework I teach them is decide you are going, right? And you're going to have to decide you're going over and over and over again, because things like this are going to come up in your life and they're going to shake you. They're going to shake that decision. So you have to decide you're going over and over and over and over again, because once you make the decision that you are going, then you can get away from, am I going, how, these type of things, and really focus on how am I going to make it happen. There's a quote that says, do your worrying when you place your bet, not when the wheel is spinning. And it's by Maxwell Maltz. And I love this quote because once you place your bet, once you make a decision and say, I'm going, the wheel is spinning. Like, get into action and figuring out the how. Don't focus on just the if anymore. The if is over. Now we're on to the how, right? And the more you do this, the more this becomes a habit for you. Right. And the best part of just removing the whole irresponsible conversation is because you will get out of the habit of only doing things when they feel right, like the right thing to do. The right thing is very subjective. Or if it feels like the responsible thing to do. And you will get into doing things because it feels right to you. Right. It feels like that's what you're supposed to do in your spirit. So, honey, that's it. That's all, y'all. This has been a long one, but I hope this really helped you, right? I hope this gave you the permission slip you needed to book the trip, even if you don't have the coins right now to spend on it, right? Let me know in the comments why you are still responsible, even if you're spending money you don't have on the trip you want to take. I do offer one-on-one coaching, and I help Black women remove overwhelm, remove overthinking, and take the trips that they want to take. So if that is something that you want to do, make sure you click the link down below and book a one-on-one call with me so we can talk about how we could work together and do that. Also, if you want to see more of me taking the trips that I want to take and figuring out how to make it happen, make sure you go follow me on Instagram at International Inez as well. And if you love this video, I know that you are one of my people. So make sure you like this video and subscribe to this channel for more conversation on transforming your life through travel and making Black travel a reality. Okay? So, until we meet again, stay tripping.